We have a second late IHP show with your 5D Mystic. This one talks about our lovely relationships, love, and the paths of bliss and wisdom, the many paths to spirituality, to your true spirituality, and that will be your whole inner child. Okay, so spirituality is a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. And that equates, thank you, Daniel Siegel, integration of the brain. Why thank you, Daniel Siegel? Because I learned about integration of the brain from him, and I'm recently doing another course with him, and it's consciousness and change. But I already started the interpersonal neurobiology, and I finished my disorganized attachment with DID and dissociative identity disorders, DID, and then I have a lifespan of attachment as well. And Daniel has taught me so much, as have all my trauma educational courses, Somatopia and ICBM, Embodied Philosophy. Those are the websites, the courses. I have too many names to remember of them, but long story short, the spirituality of you and me is what we are born with. I am very honored to be able to explain to you that 5D, Christ consciousness, oneness consciousness, is the capacity for your inner child adult to be here. So for you to own the brain that is running a model of its body. And so for you to also work with your body, your divine feminine, and to know Peter Levine and how he shares the muscles, the tissues, and the bones store trauma charges, and to know Patrick McNamara, who shares that the brain, just the brain, excuse me, not the prefrontal cortex, has a fear receptor, and that when our ancestors were evolving, it's thanks to REM that the brain can hold a specific type of ambiance to allow disparate and different ideas to come up in our dream state, as it's also trying to heal. So the brain tries to heal consistently from the trauma that is lingering. Okay, so REM and REM sleep, it supports that, but so does your active brain trying to stamp it in the hippocampus. So we talked about that recently, okay? And here's where the path of loss and the path of pain or suffering, one of the two, I forget which one, but those are the 4 paths from those lovely cards, shamanic cards that I have. We've talked about those. Okay, so I know the path of bliss and wisdom. And I've seen people who are on the path of pain and loss. Now, I've seen the ones who come to the true spirituality side. So they don't talk about your emotions as laundry, because they will have learned, kind of like from the City of Angels, you know how he becomes a human and he feels all emotions. But unlike the City of Angels, which is a movie, and like many movies, they're all made with adrenaline and sympathetic stuff going on. It's not what happens when you are actually moving towards your complete, whole, restored embodiment and integrated brain, which is what the spirituality process of you is. I'm translating to you enlightenment the human way. Becoming a functional adult is, let me get the lighting better so you don't look at me too yellowish and too bright. Okay, so on that note, the spirituality person, the divine feminine, with their own divine masculine, will be aware of a balance and will be aware of the many paths. And that's why we don't buy the bullshit of the you got laundry going on. The people who are good with having a Zen master who tells them they have laundry are the people who are going to stay within the path of loss and pain, or pain and suffering, whichever one of those two, because they're already feeling the sadness, which is about connection. And if they don't bring themselves to be in their prefrontal cortex, take care of their inner well-being with good therapy and mental support and or good personal development and or, so basically learning. In 2024 we have a bunch of beautiful and updated attachment trauma researchers, one of which I love and I've just discovered because he supports all people with all these different personality disorders, and he makes them human and gives you practical tips immediately. Dr. Daniel Fox. So Dr. Daniel Siegel is for those of you who want to learn really well about integration of brain, but it's for those of you who also want to support others. Yes, personal, it's great. Consciousness and change, you'll love that course. But the other ones, they're more educational. So if you don't want to learn things, anyways, let me put that aside and talk about our relationships. Bliss and wisdom spirituality person will know intuitively that we're here to complement and support each other. And so to support each other to make choices towards our bliss and towards our love and towards our wisdom. And when we meet the pain and loss or suffering people, we will say, you have a choice. Here it is. You can interpret that lovely body of yours with that lovely brain of yours and use the mind to notice that what you're doing is the Cusco squirrel, Diego's herd, or Ursula, basically a hangover movie, a Mean Girls movie, and that's shame, blame, fault, revenge, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, feeling humiliated, feeling of shame. What else? Injustice, getting pissy in your pants about injustice in a way that gets you into angry and controlling. So those would be all these very core aspects that you will have surface maladaptive child behavior. Thank you, Dr. Daniel Fox. Okay, so loss and pain are where people are actively at the level of the heart. They can work with the mind when they're presented with the opportunity to think and feel out of that sympathetic. So when I say, here, I can help you feel better, if you resist that, you're resisting your body's desire to process that emotion once it's been witnessed, to release it in a healthy, grown-up, emotionally accountable, self-regulating, and aware way. And when people say, no, Maria, life sucks, men suck, women suck, they've made their choice, which is why the Zen Master with Laundry is going to be popular. So people say, you can't be in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. While neuroscientists let you know how easy, yes, you can be here, like Sadhguru. Okay, so the people who will not want to move into 5D, Enlightenment Soul Age group necessarily, into their restorative embodiment, into their inner and outer well-being, they're going to keep saying, no, people are fucked up. And they're going to find stuff for 3D, 4D, mantles of yoga, mantles of spirituality, mantles of mental health, spiritual bypassers. So they choose not to go home to get that inner child adult up and running. So the past is what is directing them, which is why they're projecting their own household stuff, everything from your household, not mine. Everything from one's own past will be projected out there into the world. Now, when you meet people who want to talk about societal culture and they want to yell about it, they just remind me of the squirrels from Cusco, and they have mantles of Elsa's journey. They haven't gotten to the end, so they still haven't taken the path of bliss or the path of wisdom, because they're not looking at the pain that's coming out of their body, the loss or the suffering. They're just throwing it at you, which is why the Zen master with his laundry bit will be popular again. Or anybody who's a 4D mystic who says, you can't always be on. Yeah, some of us we can, because it's called you putting into practice what is your brain. And oh, look, I have emotions. They came up from my heart. Oh, look, I have a brain. I can think about them in a non-judgmental way. Okay, so when you know that you don't have to have ups and downs, because that's the limbic system, but that you can have emotions come up and not judge them, which is the advanced place of the inner growth program. Once you get to neutrality and duality, you begin to say, okay. And that's when it's no longer a seesaw where you're washed away by the oceans. I did it too, because my brain's just like anybody else's brain. You organically, in my case, with secure attachment, my 3-year-old state of differentiated self, I didn't lose my restorative embodiment. I didn't lose the connection. Not surprised that I'm here. When I got those panic attacks, I didn't lose myself. I knew about what was happening already on the planet, and I can also equate it to freeze response. It doesn't have to be related to mysticism. A 5D mystic isn't going to try to prove who they are. They know who they are. I have a name. We also know exactly what the relationship with this infinite essence of life and love is, what I'm going to call it. So dark matter, dark energy, science and spirituality, they come together. I live a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self since the day I was conceived, since I'm an identical twin and I had a child-centric environment, so I got lucky. And I also got Jesus and God, and I got lucky 2 times. Got to be taught humbleness. I got to be taught how to forgive. I got to say, I unconditionally love you. You're accepted. You be you, I be me. And then when people say no, you know that they want to choose something different. It's sad. But the human suffering love narrative, well, there is something about it. And they subjectively choose to keep on using that brain to run what's going on from those first 3 years of life, the first 8 as well, and the 16-year-old. We leave it alone, Cuscos, Pachas. We always hang out, and sometimes we don't, but we don't do the drama. We do bliss and wisdom and love. Let's share love. 5D relationships.